Let's get joined up. I'm Wayne Kelly, and this episode is sponsored by Picklock Publishing, the imprint behind my debut novel Safe Hands, which tells the story of Mickey Blake, a retired safecracker pulled out of retirement for one last job, and Hazel, a desperate mother driven to kill to protect her son from being sucked into a life of crime. It's out now to buy on Kindle and in paperback, and if you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, you can read the book for free. That's Safe Hands by W.A. Kelly. Right, that's enough advertising. Cue the theme tune.
Joined up writing.
Hello and welcome to the Joined Up Writing podcast, where a little procrastination can go a long way. I'm Wayne Kelly and it's episode 213, a solo episode today with me, giving you some behind the scenes and a special preview of the newly released audiobook version of my crime thriller Safe Hands. A few of you have asked me for more information, especially as I independently released the book and I've narrated the audiobook version myself. And I also wanted to give Joined Up listeners a chance to hear the first couple of chapters for free right here in this episode. So more on that in a minute, but first the usual catch up about how things are going with my writing. Work continues on the follow-up to Safe Hands, which currently has the working title of The Callback. I say it continues, but I haven't actually been adding loads of new words, I'll be honest. I talked on my last intro about pausing to kind of dig deeper into the plot, the themes and character motivations, and all of that's continued, and I've come to realise that a lot of what we do when we write a first draft, but definitely in the future revisions, is we're actually trying to distill an idea to find the purest form of the story, if you like. When you write crime or mysteries in particular, I think it's tempting to just keep adding layer upon layer of complication and intrigue in the belief it's going to make your story more compelling or mysterious. You just keep walking deeper and deeper into the woods. And if you're not careful, I think you get lost and, worse still, you lose your reader. Most stories, even mysteries and twisty thrillers or whatever, are actually very simple when you boil them down. The trick, if you like, if there is a trick, is to make them seem more complicated and mysterious than they actually are. And I think it's remembering that as a writer, I've got all the information, but when I choose to reveal each piece of the puzzle, that's what creates suspense. I used to think that by keeping everything a secret from the reader for as long as possible, I'd somehow keep them more engaged, but I think it's actually the opposite. And it got me thinking because filmmaker Alfred Hitchcock described it perfectly. I'll paraphrase it for those of you who aren't familiar with it. He gives an example of a man picking up a briefcase. So just imagine it's a film sequence, if you like. So the man picks up the briefcase. We see him collect the briefcase. He's heading out to work or wherever he's going. Maybe we show some close-ups of the briefcase. The camera tracks behind it as the man walks down the street. So we get this sense that there might be something important about the briefcase, but that's all we know. The man gets on a bus and moments later, without any warning, the briefcase explodes, destroys the bus and everyone on it. Now, are we shocked? Yes. And it's thrilling. It's unexpected for a few seconds probably. But that's it. Everything's done and gone in one shot. So Hitchcock asks us to consider the same sequence again. Imagine you're watching it for the first time. But this time, before the man leaves the house, the briefcase is open. And inside we see there's an explosive device of some description and maybe a timer. And we don't know how much time there is on the timer, but let's just say it's ticking. The man closes the briefcase and leaves the house, and he waits at the bus stop and is queuing up with all the other commuters, the children on their way to school, the mums with their pushchairs. He gets onto the bus, placing the case at his feet. The bus trundles along bumpy streets. At one point, I don't know, maybe the case falls over or it slides into the aisle. Maybe a child picks it up and hands it back to the man. And the whole sequence is charged with this suspense because we've got just enough information to know that the case is dangerous. It could explode any minute. Every tiny interaction has got this added meaning and menace. Maybe this time, in fact, in the sequence, maybe the bomb doesn't go off at all. but you're thinking about it all the time, wondering about it. Maybe the man loses his nerve, I don't know. Maybe there isn't a bomb at all. But the whole time, your audience and your reader, if you're a writer, they're engaged and they're wanting to turn the page. As I say, I'm paraphrasing it, and Hitchcock does it with a lot more flair than I could ever manage, but that's his central point. And it is an exaggerated example. Your bomb, if you like, could be, I don't know, the fact that one of your characters is having an affair and a blackmailer is threatening to reveal it. Or it could be as simple as your main character's got a secret gambling addiction and your reader knows that, but the other characters don't. That is enough to create suspense. So all of that has been that's been in the back of my mind, and it's been helping me to refine the plot of the book that I'm working on, helping me to pare it down until it's as lean and mean as it can be. That's the idea anyway. So aside from that, I'm also taking part in the Getting Published month over at Jericho Writers. I haven't used Jericho Writers before, but they've been recommended to me by my mentor and others, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's on offer there. As many of you will know, I independently published Safe Hands, and I intend to do the same for the rest of the Mickey Blake series. But I'm still interested in exploring the traditional publishing or hybrid routes, and I've got another standalone book that I think could be more suited to that path. So I'll let you know how it goes anyway. And I've also been finishing the prep for a talk and a workshop that I'm doing for a local writing group coming up soon, as well as refining the marketing materials for the full workshop I'm running in May. And I'll give you details of that in future episodes. Or alternatively, you should sign up to my free newsletter at waynekellyWrites.com. And that way you can get all the behind-the-scenes writing stuff. And if you do that, you'll also get a free ebook with 2 short crime stories for your Kindle or your reading device or whatever, as well as you'll get book recommendations and, as I say, just all the kind of up-to-date news on me and my writing. So that's me, but what about you? What have you been up to? I love hearing what you're up to, so drop me a line, just like Brigitte Fransen recently did. She's written a memoir with the brilliant title of Have Pigs, Will Travel, and that's currently on submission. So good luck with the project, Brigitte. Who knows? Once the book is published, we might even get to chat to you about it. But what about everyone else? Drop me a line and let me know what you're up to, or what you think to the show, or maybe even what you'd like to hear on future shows, because I would love to hear from you and I will always reply. And you can do that, as I say, by emailing wayne@waynekellyWrites.com or dropping me a line on one of the socials, FB or Twitter or wherever. Right. Let's crack on with today's show, giving a podcast exclusive preview of the audio book for my debut novel, Safe Hands. As I said at the top of the show, I'm going to include the prologue and chapter 1 in this episode. But before I do that, I thought I'd give you a sense of what went into the production of the book and how I actually put it together. Because as an indie author, I did have a few different options when I approached the audiobook. I could go wide, as it's often described, and put the book out on multiple platforms, or I could make my book exclusive to Audible. And to be honest, like a lot of Amazon-based platforms, Audible is the biggest player when it comes to audiobooks, although there are other ones like Spotify and the rest that are kind of coming up hot on its tail. And I'm a subscriber of Audible myself, so I was pretty familiar with the setup. So that was one of the reasons I was attracted to it. But I also like their ACX platform, which kind of powers the whole thing. It's kind of like the audio equivalent of KDP, which is the publishing platform for Kindle books. So within ACX, there are a couple of different options that I could have gone down as an indie author. One option would have been for me to audition multiple professional narrators, pay them a flat fee and employ them to narrate my book. And there are some incredible performers on there, people that you will have heard probably on many of the audiobooks that you've listened to, if that's your bag. And they can really add an extra level to your book without a shadow of a doubt. However, indie publishing isn't cheap, not when you factor in cover art, professional editing services, promotional costs, and to everything else. And to be brutally honest, my current budget just didn't stretch to that with the audiobook. So another more cost-effective option would be to enter into a profit-sharing agreement with a willing narrator where they basically forego the initial payment or at least discount their services for a share in the profits that you make from the sale of the book. And I was attracted to this option, and I still haven't ruled it out for the next book. But in the end, I decided to go the kind of third way, which is to narrate and produce the audiobook myself. Now, this isn't because I've got a massive ego and I think I'm better than all those professional audiobook narrators, because I honestly don't. Those guys do it for a living. But despite this being my first audiobook narration, I do have a lot of general voiceover experience through my job and other things. And added to that is the fact I've got a couple of decades worth of experience recording and producing audio, both for music and video projects, and obviously this podcast. And I also love a challenge, and I wanted to at least have a crack at doing it myself. Full disclosure, I thought it would be a lot easier than it actually was, because, dear listener, it was not easy. I've got a home studio, and I've got a bespoke vocal booth and high quality microphone and professional recording equipment, so the technical side wasn't difficult. It was the actual performance that was the learning curve for me. Now, yeah, in my youth, I've done some acting and performing, and I still sing and perform live music, but this was an entirely new challenge. Because it's one thing to write multiple characters, male, female, old, young, and all from different backgrounds or whatever, but it's quite another to bring them all to life with your own voice, and then to perform scenes in which several of them have a conversation. So the edited version of the book is probably around 9 hours long, but I recorded at least 14 hours worth of material, including lots of false starts, outtakes, swearing, auditioning of various ridiculous voices and accents, many of which really made me laugh when I was listening back to it and trying to edit the damn thing, all while sat on my own in a small padded vocal booth. And you might recall, if you were paying attention, I originally planned to release the book at the end of last year, but I soon realised that was wildly optimistic, recording it as I was around a busy day job, real life, and at one point I had a really bad cold, which meant I couldn't record anything until I'd stopped sounding like Barry White. And at some point in the future, I may let you hear some of those outtakes, but for now, I don't want it to colour your enjoyment of the actual book. Just forget it's me reading it. That's the idea anyway. So once I'd recorded all that material, I then had to edit it down to the individual chapters and upload each one for review on the ACX platform, which ensures it meets a high enough quality threshold before the final product can go on sale, which it did. As I record this, it went on sale the week before last, so it's been out just a couple of weeks now. So the whole thing was a very long process, but I wanted to make sure it was good enough to do justice to the original book and obviously not sound like a complete buffoon, which hopefully I haven't, but you can tell me that when you hear this. And hopefully to bring a new audience to my work, because audio is really growing. It's so many more people now are listening to audiobooks instead of reading, and in some cases it's because it's just the way that they're choosing to basically consume fiction. People that don't normally read are now finding that they are turning to fiction and non-fiction because they can listen to it while they're doing other things and they're on the go and all the rest of it. So it is a growing area, and it's, as I say, I'm an Audible subscriber myself, so I've always done it when I've been out exercising, going for a walk, or doing the chores around the house or whatever. It's a great thing to do. So yeah, that was the plan behind it, and as I said, only the reviews and sales will give me an idea if I've actually succeeded. So the more of you that can listen to and review the book, the better. And if you aren't already an Audible member, you can use the link I've included in the show notes, which gives you a free 30-day trial and means you can listen to the whole of my book for free with just using your monthly credit that you get with that trial. And if you can do that, it would be amazing. It won't cost you anything, but you'll be supporting an indie author and you'll help me to get my work out to more people. And I'd also love to hear your honest feedback, both on the quality of the performance as well as what you think to Safe Hands itself, the book itself. So before I play you the prologue and chapter 1, I'll give you the blurb of the book that's been described by best-selling author S.J. Watson as a thrilling crime debut. Will you agree? We'll see. So, sometimes to break out, you have to break in. Safe Hands is the first in a new British crime series featuring safecracker Mickey Blake. A retired safecracker. So Mickey Blake was the best, able to open any safe with only his heightened sense of touch. For the last 18 years he's been retired, hiding out in Spain and trying to save his marriage. But now his wife is dying, he owes money to the wrong people, and time is running out. A desperate mother. Living in a run-down seaside town, Hazel is a single mum driven to kill to avenge her friend and stop her teenage son being sucked into a life of crime. One last job. Mickey meets Hazel when he returns to the UK for one last job to open a huge vault inside a gangland casino. Before that, he needs to deal with a dead body, a corrupt undercover cop, an unhinged crime boss, and a son that hates his guts. So the question is, can Mickey and Hazel get out clean? So there you go, that's the blurb. And now let's hear the prologue and chapter 1. I'll then pop back at the end to wrap things up and see how many of you are still around, as I have got a little bit of a surprise for those of you who make it to the end. So here we go, a sneak preview of Safe Hands, the audiobook, by W.A. Kelly, now available on Audible. Prologue. The body's wrapped in a plastic tarp. I block out the smell, think of Spanish oranges, sunshine and sangria. I bend my knees and drag the tarp towards the end of the bridge and the footpath. Walking backwards, drawing a line in the wet gravel, like a train rail telling me where I've been, but not where I'm going. "Come on, Mickey! Last 10 seconds!" That's what my corner man would shout into the ring when I started to flag at the end of a round. Words to help me squeeze the last bit of energy from my dwindling reserves, find one more punch. Right now, I'm running on empty. Eventually, I reach the entrance to the air shaft. It's a 3x3 square opening in the ground, ventilation for the disused railway tunnel beneath it. The rain seems to be slowing, its pitter-patter rhythm quietening down, becoming more random in the mud and the gravel and the trees. I'm soaked. The tarp is soaked. Every muscle in my body screams to stop, to lie down. Instead, I grab the jacket collar of the corpse and drag it towards the hole. My heel scuffs the lip of the stone plinth, heart catching in my throat as I picture myself tumbling down, trapped under the body. "Breathe through it, Mickey!" I manage to stay upright and pull it across the plinth, sidestepping the shaft as I lay the head and upper body over the hole. Breathing ragged, I trudge back until I'm standing at the feet. "Bite down, Mickey! Last 5 seconds!" One more breath. I crouch, lift, and let gravity take over. The body slides, and there's a sound like a flag flapping in the wind as down he goes, head, chest, legs, and feet disappearing into the black below. A splash crack at the bottom. Then nothing. Chapter 1. They say a smell can take you back to a time and a place. For me, it's touch. I run my hand across the rough balcony wall of the villa. Grains of sand and salt and 2 decades of memories rub up against my skin. All of it fizzes through me in a second. Flashes of better times. Me and Maggie shopping for patio furniture, trying to buy a new start. Tables and chairs and curtains and tiles, things to put in our villa by the sea. Our Spanish haven, but never really a home. Almost 18 years ago now, when we were still pretending everything was all right. The sky takes on that neon glow you get at sunset around here. Yellows and reds bleed into the green-blue horizon. The sea's calm, even as some beefed-up kid cuts through it on a jet ski, the sound of his engine nothing more than a low buzz in the distance. I take a deep breath, suck in the scent of the neighbouring lemon groves, and step back inside. "Mags," I whisper, "you still awake?" But her breathing is deep and slow, the occasional snore threatening every few seconds. It's a bit cooler in here, but the air still feels soupy and thick. The fake citrus smell of the antibacterial spray the cleaners use on the floor never seems to go away either. I check on her, while there's still some natural light in here. She's on her back, hospital bed angled so she's not lying flat. Wisps of her grey-blonde hair cling to the side of her face and forehead. There's a small terracotta bowl on the table with water and a little sponge. Remnants of the ice cubes the carer put in the bowl before they left. I take the sponge, squeeze it out, and gently press it against Maggie's brow, freeing the strands of hair as I go. She murmurs and I shush it away, tell her to go back to sleep. Not that she's likely to wake now the night meds are in her system. I run my thumb over the back of her cannula-bruised hand, remember her stroking my face on our second date, telling me I was her man. We never had what you'd call a hearts and roses kind of marriage, but Liam always held us together. When he left, we crumbled like a dried-up sandcastle on the beach. She had the affair. Then came the diagnosis, and what kind of man leaves after that? I close the patio doors, lock them and lower the shutters, set the aircon and slip out of the room, clicking the door shut behind me. It's barely 9 o'clock and there's no one else here, but I can't face going to bed to read, and I know I won't be able to focus on a film or something on the telly. Too distracted. Keep thinking about that email, waiting for my reply, the job offer I didn't want, crying for attention like an open-mouthed baby screaming to be fed. So I head into the lounge, pour myself a malt whiskey and stretch my legs out on the sofa. Lie there, shirt off, feeling weary and worried and useless. I wake up in the way you think only happens in films. Eyes snapping open, body still. The usual dream clings to me like the cold sweat on my forehead. Lingering liniment still sharp in my nose. Copper tang on my tongue. The last time I was in the ring. The darkness beyond the ropes. Davy's foot twitching. I breathe out slowly and listen. Crickets or cicadas or whatever they call them here. The wooden wind chime just the other side of the shutters, tapping out its soft rhythm. The whoomp 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 of the ceiling fan directly above me. I'm lying on my side, still on the sofa in the lounge. I'm about to move, to sit up in the blue-grey darkness and make my way through to check on Maggie, when a shape appears in the doorway on the other side of the room. I'm wound tight, blood pulse rushing in my ears. It's a person, probably a man, and from the size of his silhouette, a big one. Stay still, mind racing. Is Maggie okay? Who are they? How did they get in? What can I use as a weapon? I roll off the sofa and move fast towards the corner of the room. I reach the large carved wooden rain stick and take it off its stand as the main light comes on. I flinch, blinking, raising the stick like a baseball bat as I try to focus on whoever's broken into my house. A sound like rain. Hundreds of beads rushing from one end of the rain stick to the other. Local heavy, Burax leaning against the bookshelves near the door, a handgun casually held at his waist but pointing in my general direction. Emphasis on heavy. He isn't tall, 5'5", maybe 5'6", but what he lacks in height he makes up for in width. Huge oil-drum chest squeezed into one of his trademark Hawaiian shirts, belly poking out the bottom, beige chinos and sandals. It's a look, I suppose. He smiles as Maria Lopez strides through the door, late 30s, long legs, short spiky red-brown hair. Despite the name, she's British, married a local. The rain stick keeps raining. "Mickey, babe," she says. "You look a bit ridiculous and the sound's doing my head in." She's probably right. I'm standing here in a pair of swim shorts trying to protect myself with a musical instrument. But I don't smile back, and still the beads in the stick tumble from one end to the other. "Come on now," she says. "We don't want to wake your lovely wife, do we? How is Maggie these days, babe? Still poorly, I bet?" My eyes flick to the closed door at the far end of the room. Maria clocks it. "Oh, don't worry. We already checked. Fast asleep, bless her. So why don't you put your big stick down and have a seat? We only popped in for a friendly chat, didn't we, Burak?" Burak tugs at the bottom of his shirt, trying and failing to cover his gut, and nods back at Maria like the good little boy he isn't. The rain beads slow, then stop. I sigh and put the stick back on its stand. My shirt is lying across the back of the sofa. I make my way over, put it on unbuttoned and take a seat. Gotta say, you should go topless more often with a body like that. Impressive at your age. My age. 60. Big deal. I resist the urge I've got to point out how many times she's seen me at the gym, the one me and her dad own. Sorry, the gym I used to own with her dad, before the greedy fucker took the lot. I slide Liam's ring off until it's pinched between the tip of my thumb and finger. Muscle memory takes over as I roll the ring, threading it between my fingers from one side of my hand to the other and back again. A smooth, repetitive action of over and under and over and under. Breathe with it. Calm. Focus. I realise Marie and Burak are both staring at my hand, mesmerised by the movement. I complete the cycle, then roll the ring to the right finger and slip it back on. The spell's broken. You'll have to teach me how to do that one day, Mickey. She sits opposite on a wicker chair. Burak takes a few steps forward to get closer to the action, but stays behind her. She's looking around the room, nodding. I like what you've done with the place. The African thing's a bit cliché, but it's tasteful. Looks better in the daylight, I say. Sure it does, but I've never had an invite. So you thought you'd drop by at 3:30 in the morning with a Turkish fridge in tow? She laughs too hard and winks at Burak. Oh, bless him. He's a big lad with a heart of gold. Burak smiles at Maria, then scowls at me and tugs at his shirt again. Thing is, babe, she says, you've been ignoring the calls and even the letters on the nice-headed paper, so we thought we'd best make sure everything's okay. I say nothing, but this babe shit's getting on my nerves. Whole thing's a put on. She's a class above her old man, proper education, degrees, the lot. Could have been anything, anywhere, yet she's stuck around doing his dirty work. He's a manipulative bastard. Dad says this is the best time for personal visits. Says you find out what someone's really made of when you wake them up in the middle of the night. This the bloke who used to take dives for a couple of £100 instead of making legit fights? Oh, you don't believe all that, do you, Mickey? Saw it for myself, I tell her. She crosses her legs, leans back. Was that before or after you quit the game? That was 40 years ago, I say, and unlike him, I got out for the right reasons. That wipes the stupid smile off her face, even if it brings me the unwelcome memory of my dream and poor Davy Watkins. Anyway, I say, you hear about the money, but the next instalment isn't due until... she says. No more instalments. Dad needs the lot, and he wants it by the end of the month. End of the month? That's only near enough 3 weeks away. Sure you can sort something by then. Heard you might have something brewing back home. How the fuck does she know about that? First few years after I quit, I probably got asked to do a comeback gig 2 or 3 times a month. Not surprising, since there's no one left who can do what I do. For me, cracking a safe doesn't mean dynamite. No tools, no oxyacetylene torch, and definitely no fucking stethoscope. It's laying your hands on cold steel, feeling the tingle in your fingertips, caressing out each part of the combination. So yeah, I got offers when I retired, but I turned every single one of them down flat. Eventually they got the message. The line went dead. That was until I got the first email from PJ's son a couple of months ago. Hit my inbox about the same time as Maggie's latest medical bill. Wasn't so easy to delete that one, but I managed it. You're out, Mickey, I told myself. Stay out. But the emails kept on coming, and so did the bills, and before I knew it, I was typing my first reply. Just to get the lay of the land, you know, to confirm what I already knew, that it was a bad idea, and in any case, the money would have to be pretty big to tempt me back. It's looking more and more likely that the price is right. That's not your concern, I say now. Maria pretends to be embarrassed. It kind of is, babe. Babe. I force a laugh. Don't you ever get sick of pretending to be someone else? Don't you? She fires right back. Burak shifts on the spot, probably not used to standing up for this long. He flexes the wrist holding the gun. Very subtle, Borak, I say, then back to Maria. Even if I wanted to take that job, there's no way Maggie can travel at the minute. Oh, she'll have to stay anyway. That's how we know you'll come back afterwards. Not that it makes much difference. Dad's got plenty of friends over there. I won't leave her alone. Come on. We both know you got carers coming in, and what about him? She points to a framed photograph on the wall. Can't he come over and see his mum for a bit? It's a picture of my son, Liam, age 15, on stage and playing Fagin in the school version of Oliver, more than 20 years ago, when I still had a relationship with him. No, I say, making it clear there's nothing more to say on that subject. Her mouth forms an O, then she says, Fair enough. Your man then, what is it, Chavez? He can keep an eye on her for a while you're away. Where else are you going to get that kind of money so quick? I know people, I tell her. Yeah, and you think any of those people are going to get involved when they know who you owe the money to? She's right. Since I retired, most of the people I know out here are legitimate business types. They won't come near me once they know Kelvin Mackenzie has his hooks in. They've got more sense than I had when I let him invest in my boxing gym. This wasn't supposed to happen. 18 years ago I opened what I thought would be my last safe and made just north of £2 million. Sounds a lot, but with the villa and the kind of people Maggie wanted to hang about with, I knew we'd need something else to see us out. People like me don't really do pensions. That's why I set up the gym business, which was ticking over nicely until Maggie got ill. No NHS out here. Bills came thick and fast, and the only way to stay afloat was to look for extra investment in the business. Mackenzie had the money and the contacts, and I naively thought he'd changed from the young low-life thug I'd known in my 20s. He's been out here longer than me. I thought the warm air and cool swimming pools might have civilised him a bit. But instead of getting a business partner, I was diving into the water with a ruthless loan shark. Yet another bad decision, Mickey. My thumb strays back to Liam's ring. Hot metal as a flashbulb goes off in my mind, eyes drawn again to that photo, the night he performed. I think about all the chances I had to tell him how proud I was, how I could never find the words. There's been a river of bitterness between us since then, but would he talk to me if I went back? And what about Maggie? She's living on borrowed time, but every penny could mean less pain and a better quality of life. He's off again. Maria breaks my concentration. She nods to my hand. I'm going through the motions, the ring roll, the trick my granddad showed me when I was 20, an exercise to improve dexterity and sensitivity in my fingertips, the start of me finding a new way to use my hands, and the reason, for good or bad, I'm where I am now. I thought all that was behind me, but as I watch the ring go under and over and under and over, as I feel its heft and sense every tiny scratch on its surface, I finally understand. I'm not going back to it at all, because the truth is, I never left.
Joined up writing.
So there you go. That was a sneak preview of the prologue and chapter 1 of Safe Hands by W.A. Kelly, out now on Audible. What did you think? The surprise I can reveal is that I do actually have a limited number of free copies of the audiobook, which I'm only telling you guys about, which I'm giving away in return for an honest review of the book. To get your hands on one of those codes, and they are very limited, so when they're gone, all you need to do is email me, wayne@waynekellyWrites.com, and ask me for a code for the free book. That's right, free. No catches, just download it, listen, and then leave me an honest review. You can't say fairer than that, surely. I'll be back in a couple of weeks in the usual format where I'm interviewing author Sandy Jones, but that's it for this week, other than me reminding you to make sure you subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast, or wherever else you get your podcasts, and that way you can have the podcast downloaded automatically every time. Also, remember to leave us a nice rating and review on Apple Podcasts, because it does really help other people to find the show, or just recommend it to one of your friends. So thanks for listening this week. I'm Wayne Kelly. Happy writing, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.